Well, here we go again. This is my second attempt at doing this image. The first recording didn't work, so let's see how we go. I was trying to explain in the first one how I haven't done one of these for a while, so I'm not really sure how it's going to work. Let's just see what happens. Love it or hate it, you can let me know. So we're looking at this image, this one that I took at the Warburton Redwood Forest. These nests were built, they were done a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, where somebody had gone and collected all the sticks and they made these circles, and apparently then they pinned them up in the trees or tied them with ropes or something. And then the rangers came along, like, I don't know if it was the next day or within a few days, and cut them all down, because apparently nests in trees or these circles of twigs was considered dangerous. Not sure how it would be any more dangerous than branches falling off trees, but there you go. And then you have to wonder, well, how safe is it to have these things just lying on the ground? But can't argue with them, can you? Anyway, so we're going to try doing it so that we have the nest at the bottom and the trees at the back are going to look like they're going blurring upwards, like they're going up into the sky. So we're going to open this. Now, I've already done some work on it in Camera Raw, but one of the things that I wanted to do was show you how in Camera Raw you can straighten images. Like, you can see all these trees have kind of got this curve going on. We kind of need the trees straight up and down for this tutorial. So we're going to use the transform tool, which is up here. Hopefully you can follow my mouse. Can you see my mouse up here? Transform tool. We're going to click on that. And it comes up here. And you can do a heap of things here. You know, you can change lots of things. But for this, what we want is vertical. We want to change how these trees are vertically. So we can, you can go this way, but that's not the way we want. I think we want them more like this. I might even rotate the image a little bit. Now we can't do a automatic, actually we can. I can show you a little trick here. Let's just go back, put all this back to 0. Okay. Which one isn't 0? Rotate. Come on. So if we go back to this one and we do, this is your straightening tool and how to straighten an image. So let's say we just get this down the center of the image and we straighten the image and we press, I mean, it doesn't look like it changed anything. Oh, I think it's about to rain. But if we do that first, like if you use the straighten tool first and then you go into transform, and you transform it the way you want. Does that look fairly straight? Did you see what happened? It got rid of all that white bit around the bottom. But if you don't do the straighten first, you'll have to crop it yourself, which is a bit annoying. So that's my little trick here, is use the straighten tool first. Even if it is straight, just straighten it anyway, and that'll happen. Now we're just going to open the image. Oh, there's the previous one because I've already done this one. Is this going to work? Cool, let's just delete this other one. So here's our image. Now, to do the blur, we can't do it on this image. I mean, we can do it on this image, but we can't do it on this copy or this layer. Otherwise, we won't be able to do anything else with it. So what we need to do is we need to copy it. We need to have 2 copies of this image, so there's 2 layers. So I find the best way of doing that is just to do simply on your keyboard Control and then press J, the letter J. Did you see that? Let me do that again. So watch over here. You do Control J. There's your other layer. There's other ways of doing it. So you could go up here, layer, and do duplicate layer. Yeah. Don't know what all that stuff is because I never use that. I'm going to do Control Z to delete that, to go back. Or the other way you can do it is to grab it, click on it, and drag it down to this little one here. See that one? Can you see it? Are you looking? And then once it's down there, just let go of it. And there's your new layer. So let me do that one again. So you just grab it and drag it. Drag it all the way down. And then you let go. This one here, if I just click it, is usually the one that just gives you a blank layer. But we don't want a blank layer. We want a copy of it. So now we have two. You can rename this layer. Like you could call this blur layer if you wanted to. To rename it, all you've got to do is just double click on the name quickly. I don't normally worry about that kind of stuff. I'm not that organized, but there you go. So now we have our layer, and now we want to blur it. So to blur it, we go up to filter up here. Can you see up here? This is where all your filters are. And we want to come down to blur, and then we want to go to motion blur. Whoops, I pressed that really quickly. Let's do that again. So filter, blur, motion blur. Now some of you may have seen here that motion blur was actually up here. That's because I've just used it recently. So forget that. So this, I'm going to go all the way up here. That's as far as the distance where the pixels, that's how far they travel in the image. And this little thing here helps you determine what direction you want this motion blur to go in. For this one, because we're looking at trees going straight up, and we've tried to make them look like they're straight up and down, we want this so that it is straight up and down. So 90. So that's what I use for the other. Obviously 2000 pixels is too much. I think for the tutorial I use 299, so I'm just typing that in because I can remember that number. I think that's an okay number. So we've got our motion blur. So did you see that? So this is the distance, so this works out how far it will go from 0 to 2000, but we want it at 299. And we want this to be, it says minus 90, but basically they're going straight up and down. And you can see the direction from this little window here. I'm just going to press OK. So this is all very well. We've got our motion blur, but now the whole image is going straight up and down. And we don't want the whole image going straight up and down because we want to see the nest. If I click that so you can't see that layer anymore, then you can see the nest is underneath. But if I click it back, it's there. So now we have to work out how do we get rid of some parts of this image so that we can see some of the image below. A lot of people would just use, and I've seen people doing this, if I can find it, the erase tool. I mean, the erase tool, I'm just going to make this a bit bigger. I'll tell you how to do that in a minute. You can do that. You can just delete, do that way. But the problem with this is that if you make a mistake, it's really hard to fix. Like I can fix it right now because I can just do Control Z to undo it. But what happens if you do all of that and then you've done another 10 or 20 layers or something, and you've done a lot of work, and then you realize you made a mistake and you took some of it away that you didn't mean to? You can't really go back and fix it. You have to start all over again. So to prevent doing that, we're going to use a mask. A mask means that it puts this on, so it's like this has been put on top, but you can erase those areas that you don't want anymore, but they're not erased permanently. It means you can come back and change your mind. So to put a mask on here, there are a couple of ways. I know you can do it up here somewhere. I've never been able to quite work out how to do it because it's not how I do it. So anyway, if you can work that out, that's good. Anyway, I'm not going to get stuck on that. The easiest way to do it is to come down. This is your layers panel. And if you come down here, you see all these little icons where we did the duplicating the layer before. And this one here, this little rectangle with the black dot in the middle, is a layer mask. So watch what happens here next to our blur layer when I click on it. Did you see that? Let me do it again in case you missed it. You're going to click on it, and there it is. So this will allow you to mask. So this is the, like it's not really I guess it is a mask at the moment. So what you want to do is to cut into that mask so that you can see what's underneath. So if we remove parts of this mask, you'll be able to see. So like if I invert this mask so that it's all black, you can see what's underneath it because it's now not showing any part of that layer at all. If I put it back, there it is. So what we need to do is we need to work into this mask, and you do that with your brush tool. Now I normally just press B and there's my brush, but you can also get your brush over here in your little toolkit, which is up here. So here's all your brushes, there's your brush, and you've got lots of different options for your brushes up here. We're not really going to go into those today, that's for another time. If you want more if I can speak properly, if you want more tutorials. The other thing that we're really concerned about here is this bit here. This is setting your foreground color. So basically whichever color is on top is your foreground color. Now if I use white and I paint on here, nothing's going to happen because the mask is already white, so it's not going to do anything. But if I change that so that black is on the front, and you can change that with that, or you can change it with the X key. Press X and it will change it around. If it's black, then when I work on it, you can see straight away that something from underneath is showing through because I've removed part of the image with that mask. The other thing you need to be really, really careful about is you have to make sure that the mask is selected. See these little white lines around the edge of the mask? That means that you're working on the mask. If you go to here and you've got the white things around the image and you try and do the same thing, you're going to paint the image with black. You don't want that. Well, I'm assuming you don't. Sometimes you might, but we don't, not for this. So I've just done Control Z to get rid of it again. So we're going to press on the mask again. Now the next thing is, what size brush do you want? There's lots of ways of doing that. You know, you can go up here and you can do, you know, brush selection and work out what size. You've got this little thing here that will change it or make it really small or whatever. I don't like that thing. It drives me nuts because you can't see it. Like, you have to guess at the numbers and things. I use the square arrow keys on my keyboard. If I press the left one, it goes smaller, and you can see it happening, so you can get a better idea of what size brush you want. If I press the right one, it gets bigger. See? I want a big brush for this, so I'm going to go big. Go big or go home. Is that the same? Something like that. The other thing we need to work out is how soft do we want it. Now up here, you see this little thing is exactly the same as right clicking on your image. When you've got the brush tool, when you've selected the brush tool and you press right click, this window will come up. And this here will determine how hard or soft your brush will be. This is the softest and this is the hardest. When it's the softest, you'll get a lot of feathering. So you'll get really, really soft edges. So if you wanted to do something that's like really sharp in the image and you want to do a mask and you use a really soft brush, it will bleed out to the area you don't want. So you have to be careful. It's something you need to experiment with. I never use the brush at 100%, but I do vary this according to the image. For this, we want a relatively soft brush. So I'm going to use it there. If we just click on the image, it will go away. So now we can start painting. So you can see I'm removing, and we can see some of that image below. Because the brush is fairly soft, I don't have to go all the way up because the feathering will let me do some of that. Okay, so if we now, I think I'm going to do some of the road, some of these, the ground as well. So I want to make my brush smaller, so I'm clicking my left square arrow key. I'm just going to go up and do a little bit of this. I'm not going to be too too pedantic about it for this tutorial. I mean, I've already done this image, so this is just to give you an idea. But if you decide that, say you go, whoops, or even, let's go make the brush bigger again. And let's say you accidentally do that and you think, oh, I mean, you could just press Control Z. But if you come back and you can't press Control Z, all you've got to do is press your X key. Remember over here, this set the foreground color. So we just want it to be white again. Oh my God. So we just want this white because that's the color of the mask, and we want this bit to be masked. So, and then you can just paint over it, and then that will get rid of it. And you can do that anywhere where you've made a mistake. If you've decided, oh, I did one there, so I'll get rid of that. I've got some tree here. Depends on how careful you want to be. Now we can actually have a look at the mask in better detail so we can actually see what we've got. If I press on Alt and then I click on the mask will come up. And you can see here some of that feathering because the brush was soft. Look, see, I've got some black here. I don't want that black. So I'm going to press X. I'm going to press X so the white, make sure white is at the front. And then I've skipped some bits under here which I obviously want all black. So now that it's black, I forgot some bits down here. I can say, okay, I'm happy with that mask. I'm going to click it, and there you are. There's our trees behind the nest going upwards. It's a fairly basic tutorial. I hope it explains. I hope I haven't been too confusing. I'm so sorry. Like I said, I haven't done one of these for a while. I'm hoping this works. I'm going to be so upset if I have to do it a third time. So there it is. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Let me know if you think I should do any more of these. Okay, I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.